Needless to say, that one didn't quite go our way. But one of the things that stood out to me was how much pressure it felt like the offense was under with all the blitzes Grand Valley was throwing. Was that the biggest challenge for the offense you felt, just the difficulty with the blitz and the pressure?
Yeah, well, the biggest difficulty for us offensively was those 11 beasts on the other side of the line of scrimmage. So if they don't respect that you can run by them and get the ball to it, they come down in your grill all day long. And they're not going to get out of, they're not going to back up and play even Steven honest football until you run by them a few times. You know, here's the truth of it when you play Grand Valley. You got to remember, I was with an organization that went in there and we beat them 62-24 in that same place, okay? To go there and do that, to put it in perspective for somebody like in the media, like y'all, I feel you got to go to a place where you feel like you're fighting a Death Star. And you got to go to places inside, intrinsically motivated, and the will to do battle that a lot of people don't want to go to. And that's just the truth. Now, I don't approach my team that way because my concern at that point, before getting ready for a game, is all about energy, morale, and discipline. And those two play off each other. When you manage a football program, those two sectors have to kind of be even. If morale's real high, usually discipline's lacking. If discipline's real high, usually morale's lacking a little bit. So you gotta handle your team to be even in those departments. And so that's just the truth when you play them. Now, Grand Valley, they're very gifted at, as a whole department or a football program, they're very gifted and blessed with elite personnel, not just the players, but everything around it. Staff, support staff, and they're very blessed with everything else. They got the people, and they got the buildings, and they got everything else. Now, I give Matt a ton of credit, and his coaches, because when you operate in that kind of environment and you own that job, there's enormous responsibility. Enormous responsibility. You know, it's almost like, in comparison, you're at the University of Texas for Division II. The minute you miss a field goal, you're garbage as a coach. You know, so they've done really well. And, our players, I hope, and everybody around our program, learned where you got to go to function and play well there. Yeah, I know that because I've been through that a lot. Okay? And at the same time, when we had that victory, 62-24, whatever it was, we played them again in the playoffs and got beat at our place. Now, you wouldn't think that would happen when you dominate somebody like that, but it does. So you got to go to places most people don't know about inside. And that's just the truth. If you want to win, and if you want to bang heads with them, now we know. I can talk about it all I want. You can't set the table for what you got to be like inside to beat them until you go through it. Now you know. Now you're motivated. Now you know what it takes to go in there and be successful, or at least be able to play with them. Now we know. We know where we're at compared to the number one team in the country. We know where we stand. Now where do we go? Now where do we go? So we got a lot of growing up to do. We got a lot of recruiting to do. Okay? I tell our players, and I've mentioned this before, I tell our players early in the season when we're in camp, I said, it's your job to keep your position. If you're a starter, that's your job. You to keep that. It's the staff's job to recruit and beat you out. And that sounds a little bloody, but it's the truth. And when both sides are working hard to do that, you get a pretty good football program. So we've got a ways to go, but I'm good with that. I'll use it as a learning lesson. Am I irritated about it? Immensely. And I think a lot of people in the program are. And that's good. It motivates you. So you know what you got to do. You know what you got to look like, and you know how you got to be. Now you know.
Sticking with offense, I think it was interesting because Davenport was the first team that gave us that look, was the lack of respect on the outside, man up, whether it be strictly man, cover one, you're going to bring those man pressures. Grand Valley obviously saw that film. They brought up their game plan based on that. Ferris runs almost the exact same type of defense I would expect we're going to see a lot more of that look. I don't know what you can speak on the offensive side of the ball, but how do you
People are
adjust
going to
that?
smother you until you beat them, and then they're going to act right. So that's up to us. People always say, well, they're going to do this, we're going to do that. Well, I'm okay, that's fine. What are we going to do? You've heard me talk about that in that manner. You've heard me talk about that side of the chip. What we worry about is what we do. So if we can shake loose and beat them and do things to get them to play normal, that takes care of it. But you got to be good enough to do it. And poor Zach, the minute he got the ball, he's running for his life. But they got creatures up there, and right now in the box we don't. We're not done yet. What do they say? If it doesn't kill you, it only makes you better. I'm still walking. We got to recruit and get better and develop.
Staying on the defending national champs coming up here this week, talk about offensively. What kind of struggles they pose for you guys?
Like they always do, a lot of speed. They're at heart they're a veer team, but they run and off that you're going to get all the veer read package, you're going to get all the triple option, you're going to get the zone option, you're going to get all the power read gap scheme stuff and the counter scheme. They'll use the quarterback like a running back, and so schematically, you got to be able to handle a lot of different run game. They're an open formation team, but they don't do it to throw the ball. They want you to widen out with them and spread out and get loose so they can bury you with the run. That's their foundation. And so we'll do some things schematically that we feel we can operate in, and we'll move some players around. We'll get some players back on both sides of the ball, I hope. And we'll game plan accordingly to putting the people on the field that give us the best chance. And we know more now after going through the Grand Valley about who needs to be on the field. And we'll go from there. But the offense is going to have the same battle they had last week. Same package, same kind of athletes in the back end.
So like you say, Coach, Saturday, definitely a learning experience for the team and for the program. So facing, like Kobe says, another opponent of that pedigree, reigning, defending national champions, was number one until Grand Valley State usurped that title for them. What do you have to do to take what you learned from the Grand Valley game and mentally build yourself back up and go, okay, it's coming around again? How do you prepare yourself mentally for a game like that?
Well, that's everybody's battle. Not just the players, but the coaches too. When you get a big old, dish of humble pie, now it's time to reflect. Now it's time to readjust where your focus and your motivation and your will to be a better football player is. Now all of a sudden, maybe we better listen a little bit better to what the coaches tell me. Now all of a sudden, I better not walk around in sunglasses and think I'm really cool. Now I better knuckle down, and I better go back to home base, and I better put my roots back down and start over again. That's what you do. You just go to work. And you know what? Maybe you should be really irritated and want to fight a little bit more. That's how I would act, and I would sure, after I think the way we had a conversation with the team at post-game, I would be very shocked if that's not the realm they're in right now. They should be. It was made quite clear of what we expect and what we got to do now.